Overhead, in front of our eyes, and as much as we can hear, this city has changed. How many of you have sat at home and heard the helicopters roaring overhead, knowing that they're on their way to do another rescue? Or the sirens going down the street more often than usual, putting out a fire, reaching someone who's draped a white sheet outside their window for help? Is this Houston? It seems to be a little more common, but it also helps us to realize that we're not alone. We're reaching out to each other. And by virtue of social media, I am amazed at how people have connected to people. Help has been brought to those who thought they were really isolated on that rooftop or struggling alone at home. A member of our congregation who lives at South Braeswood in Chimney Rock was stranded with a caregiver. And on social media, the calls went out. My phone rang at home 3 times. They couldn't get through 911. But someone else offered up the phone number to the Coast Guard and the National Guard. And sometime later, she was rescued with her caregiver and brought to a safe place. And while I was mastering technology at home in my study, I heard this enormous groan coming down the street. I'd never heard this sound before, nor that one either. And when I got up to look out the window, and in front of my house was an entire lake, slowly, carefully, the National Guard was making its way with a convoy down Evergreen in Bel Air, carrying countless numbers of people in the back to safety. They didn't look like my neighbors, but they were, because they were dressed in whatever they could escape with. Each of us has a story, a harrowing tale of where we've been and how we've overcome. I'm grateful for those who are live streaming because I know that if you're tuning in, you're safe. And for those of you who are here, I just wish I could put my arm around the entire chapel to embrace you. But you know, I looked into the Torah, as I'm prone to do, and I found in Kitei Say this week that it contains one of my very favorite verses of all. It says that when you lose something, when you found something that a neighbor has lost, and each of us has lost something, all of us, even if it isn't material goods, it's a sense of security and safety, we've lost it. But then the Torah says, Lo tuchal lehitalem, you shall not remain indifferent to your neighbor's loss. Those words can also be translated to mean, you shall not hide yourself. I think that speaks of the human spirit, that when someone has lost something and we found it, we know it's not ours. It isn't a matter of finders, keepers. We know it's not ours and somebody needs it more than we. And Torah teaches us to hold on to it for as long as it might take for someone to find it. And we even have an obligation to seek that person out if we can. But how do we return something to somebody that isn't in our hands, that we can't put it for safekeeping on a shelf? What if it's our safety, our sense of security that we've lost? That's when we have to be present for each other, to be as human as we possibly can be. Now, there isn't anybody here or anybody that I've truly come to know that I would call indifferent to human suffering or challenges. Elie Wiesel taught us that the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Because love is something that comes so naturally to us. If you're sitting next to someone tonight, it's because you love them, or at least you like them enough to be here together. But the opposite is not hate, because actually hate is a feeling. It's something that still is a part of our human possibility. But if we're indifferent, Elie Wiesel taught, then we're not human at all. That cuts against the grain of how God created us to transform ourselves, even if we don't like someone, into somebody who might love someone later. The feelings that we're experiencing this week and tonight are all over the map. But I have no doubt that each of us can love each other and our neighbor more than ever before. We've lost something, And we have to find within ourselves the capacity and ability to reach out to others and say, I may not be able to restore all that you have lost, but I'm here for you. I'm not indifferent to your loss or your pain. I am present with you. Some of us have lost a lot, an entire house, all your cars, all your sense of security. And it hurts. But as I've written and I've shared with you, hurt has no shame and no label. It's just for each of us to reach out and help each other in the way that we can, even though some of us are so unfamiliar with reaching out and asking for any help at all, and suddenly strangers show up at our door and enter our house and tear apart our walls and our floors, and we wonder, A, where did you come from, and B, won't you come back again? It's a sense of insecurity that we've always dreaded, but now we've transformed it into a sense of confidence that standing with others, to be present for another, makes a difference. Some people have lost very little, or perhaps even nothing at all, except that sense of security. But I would suggest that even if you haven't lost anything at all, don't struggle with survivor's guilt. Transform anything that you might feel so appreciative of and so blessed about into action. Make a difference for someone out of something, all that you have, so that somebody might feel they have a little bit more than they do tonight. And I want to remind all of us that it wasn't so long ago when this congregation wasn't cleaning up floodwaters, but rather we were coming together to celebrate a very important milestone in our temple's life. On the 160th anniversary of Congregation Beth Israel, we commissioned a Torah. You remember it? We call it the People's Torah. We don't call it my Torah. We don't call it your Torah. It's our Torah. In this beautiful Aron Kodesh, this beautiful Holy Ark, which just was returned to the Gordon Chapel about a week ago by the very artist who first crafted it in 1980, it is stunningly beautiful. And when we open it in a moment, you'll see that out of an ark that was falling apart because of the contraction and expansion in our humidity that the wood had to endure over 30 years, it is whole again. It came just on time to remind us that it shines and glimmers with that symbol of hope for us. And what's more, while all the Torahs are in offices on a very high shelf, when I was asked which Torah should I put in the Holy Ark, I said tonight, we need the People's Torah. Why? Because the Hebrew word emblazoned at the bottom is echad. We are one. One God, one people, and one strength. And if we remember how that Torah was written, it wasn't by one hand. 2,500 separate hands inked the letters in that Torah. And that's how this congregation and this Jewish community and this great city is going to come together. Not because I'm going to do it or you. So don't bear that responsibility on your shoulder to think, I can't do more, I can't do enough. 2,500 hands inked that gorgeous sacred scroll for us. And it's going to take that many hands and many more to put the city together so that we can feel like we are one community again. Let's not hide ourselves. I'm sure we won't remain indifferent, but each of us has lost something this week. So let's help each other in the way we speak, in the way we are present for each other, and in all that we do, to find a way to restore what can be restored. But as I've said, material things that are lost may be repaired or remembered. They are not truly lost completely. Friends, I'm so grateful that we can be together tonight. And in a couple of weeks, Rosh Hashanah will come. I've reminded you of what our sages have taught us, Kol hatchalot kashot. All beginnings are hard. Did it have to be this hard? I wish it didn't have to be. But I do know that in the sanctuary on Rosh Hashanah evening, we are going to come together in one service at 6:30 p.m., no late service on Rosh Hashanah this year, one service at 6:30 p.m. to wish each other a little sweetness as we continue to overcome what we have lost. So let's take hold of what we have. Let's be present for each other. And may we go mechayel l'chayel, from strength to strength. Amen. Please rise. In our prayer book, we'll turn to the bottom of page 282 and 287.